Okay, now we should be good. It was when I opened up the program earlier. It was facing towards my face because I just used the same webcam, but I've got an arm now so that when I'm doing this kind of stuff, it's not like right down here. Like if it gives you any sort of scale, you're up there right now, and you used to be like right about here. So like it's twice as high up, so you can see all the playmat and everything. And I'll have to raise cards and stuff to show you, but it's also just better angle wise for me because it's more of a top down. So got a couple of decks we're gonna work on today. They're both decks. One of them I started working on just recently, as in like I just pulled some cards. I haven't like really sifted through a whole lot of stuff. And then the other one, I had some cards just set off to the side just from where I'd gotten one of the theme boosters for Thrones of Eldraine. And I got Sir Conrad the Grim. I don't know if you'll be able to read it as well. But it's whenever another creature dies, or a creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves your graveyard, Sir Conrad deals 1 damage to each opponent. With an activated ability that mills both you and your opponent. What this means is that you build a sacrifice deck. Now, that's all well and good. The biggest thing is I've not built a sacrifice deck, so I don't really. Come on, really? Why? Why are you like this? I'm just gonna let it roll. So the other deck that I've got is gonna be an interesting one because it is focused on the commander of Taranika, a Crowan veteran. And the card reads, whenever Taranika, a Crowan veteran, attacks, untap another target creature you control until end of turn. That creature has base power and toughness 4 and gains indestructible. So, here's my plan for this deck. It's going to be kind of interesting. I'm going to play the white deck wide. And if you're unfamiliar with what that means, I'm going to play a lot of cards that require, or that will give me lots of things to fight with. Like, it's going to be basically a token-based deck. Where I'm just going to create a bunch of tokens, and then the goal is to turn one of them into a 4/4 each turn so that I can deal some extra damage. However, on top of that, I have things like Ancestral Blade that I've pulled, which also creates a soldier to put the Ancestral Blade on. I have Angelic Exaltation, which I've pulled, which whenever you attack with just one creature, granted that does mean that Taranika's stuff is not as useful, being as it's whenever it attacks, you untap another and attack with it. But it also gives me another option, I suppose, where if I'm wanting to go wide and for some reason I just don't have Taranika or something, there's that. But it's going to be a wide deck. There's lots of buff spell, like full board buff spells that I've got pulled so far. Not sure what's gonna stay, what's gonna come out. I haven't even counted all this up. There's even a secondary commander if I really wanted to run a different commander for this deck. Because I got Sir Alan in this deck. So, I'll start with the Taranika deck. I will need to go and retrieve some things real quick. I'm going to set Sir Conrad off to this side for now. I'm going to just pile it all up. And I'm going to go get more cards. So, what ends up happening when you've played Magic for a while is you get boxes like this. I was going to need this box anyways, because from here to here is black cards, so I would need it for this deck. From here to here is green cards, which I'm not going to need for any of the decks I'm building today. But here to here is artifacts, and so I haven't looked through artifacts for the Taranika deck yet. So I'm going to pull these and start rummaging through and see what I can find. We're going to tilt the cards like that so that they don't fall all the way over. I'm going to set this off to the side. Just don't really need it at the moment. Alright, so let's take a look. What do we have? A Crow and Horse could be interesting. Where it gives... We give it to our opponent, and then at the beginning of each upkeep, we get a white soldier out of it. It's a maybe. I've never found a great deck for it. This may be it. Antler Skulkin. Target white creature gains persist until end of turn, which means that when it's put into a graveyard from play, if it had no -1/-1 counters on it, return it to play under its owner's control with a -1/-1 counter on it. I don't know. Don't think that one's worth. Lots of Azorius. Runes. Let's see what else we got. I gotta remember to not mess up the ordering of the piles and everything, because I've sorted all my artifacts alphabetically, which took a hot second. Beast of Burden could be interesting, because Beast of Burden has power and toughness equal to the total number of creatures in play. If we're playing a wide deck, that could be very good. Don't need any blood tallow candles. Let's see. Some bronze sables, a bronze sword, a shield, a steer. Cogworks Puzzle Knot is okay, but it costs 4 mana to get 2 1/1 servos. And I'm not running off of like artifact synergy in this deck, so I don't know if that's really worth. Crashing Drawbridge could be interesting, where I just get out a bunch of tokens, give them all haste until end of turn, and then rush in. Plus, it's just a wall in general, so it'd be good that way. Let's see what we got. Diviner's Lockbox. Nah. Huh. Nah. Not Elixir Immortality. Let's see what's in pile number 2. Equipped creature has Intimidate. Not really as important. Some damage stuff. Black creature gains Wither. I kind of wish that it was the. I kind of wish I had a persist granter for my Sir Conrad stuff that I'm gonna do, because that could be really interesting. Lots of stuff with affinity for artifacts. Doesn't really help me too much right now. Nah. Not really. No, we're not going to have gates at all in this, so Gate Colossus is not going to be a thing. Glaive of the Guild Pact is also not going to be relevant because of the lack of gates. Goblin Charbelcher is reliant on mountains. No, we don't really need the golden egg either. It's more of a mana rock than anything else. Let's see. We got Guardians of Meletis. Nah. This is one of those cards that seems relatively good, and I just don't know like what deck it goes in. Because it's the Haunted Plate Mail, which it gives a creature +4/+4, and then if you don't have any creatures on the board, you can turn it into a creature for the turn. There's got to be a deck for that. I just don't know what it is. Heavy Matic could be interesting, because that's pretty much going to be a +2 on a lot of the stuff that we've got in this deck. So the Hinge Walker is going to be a 3/3 for 3 in this deck, just because we're going to have all white mana. So we will always cast it for Adamant. It's just a 3/3 for 3 that's an artifact. In other decks, sure, but Heraldic Banner, I think, is definitely an add, because it's creatures of a chosen color. So if it's all white and we're going wide, we're all good. Don't really have any artificers. Not seeing too much at the moment. So I'm kind of thinking about both decks as I'm going through the artifacts, being as it's going to deal with both. But as far as this one goes, it seems kind of except as a digital cost, discard a card. Conrad, if a card hits the graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, if a creature hits the graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, he pings each opponent. This card pings creatures for a big cost, and it also persists. So whenever this hits the graveyard, if I get this onto the field and it dies, then it comes back with a -1/-1, and it pings my opponents. So that is going to go on this pile. Not seeing too much at the moment, but it kind of ends up like, it may just be that I'll have enough of the other types of cards to fill it out. And I didn't go through and add just like a bunch of just generic cards that could go in like any white deck. I didn't just add like all of the just like removal, that kind of stuff. I threw some in there just because I knew I'd want a little bit, but that would be another thing to look through. And I'm pretty sure I have another little chunk of white cards in another place I haven't looked through yet. So I have issues with certain cards, and it's mostly because of the format that I play. Because I play Commander. I get cards like this, which is perfectly fine. That's a cool card. But that requires me to have more than one card of a specific card. And that just doesn't work. Lots of Prophetic Prisms, some Rakdos stuff. This one likes multicolored spells, so I'm not going to worry about that. That one likes artifacts, not going to worry about that. I could maybe throw some vehicles into this deck just to make it interesting. Just crew up a vehicle and just choo-choo in. I don't know. Did I already put one of these in this pile? Because if not, that's absolutely going in. Well, I don't know if it's an auto include actually. Now that I think about it. Oh, there's one in the pile. Okay. It's the Scalding Cauldron. Being as we do have a sacrifice deck. Although it is specifically like a creature sacrifice deck that we're building. So I don't know how good a Scalding Cauldron would be. A Dwagon Spillet. Oh! I just read something about Conrad. Conrad isn't just my side of the field. Conrad is anyone's field. So his ability pings my opponent for 2 whenever it's either 2 or 4 or however many people you have. Like I usually just play one-on-one just because I don't have people to I don't have a whole bunch of people to play with, but yeah, Sir Conrad is super good. But yeah, if you build like a mill strategy into that too, it's not the worst. Yeah, it's a mono black mill strategy, but which slows it down just a tad because there's lots of blue mill cards. But it does mean that there are certain cards like a millstone or something that could be thrown in there. Could be really good. Not seeing a whole lot. Ticking Gnomes could be interesting for the Sir Conrad. Because Ticking Gnomes are just kind of like a time bomb. Let's see what we got. Maybe Weapon Rack. I'll put Weapon Rack in the pile for this one because it gives +1/+1 counters. Only 3 times, but it gives +1/+1 counters. That could be useful to make some stuff bigger. witch's oven over here. I don't think there's one in this pile. Let me double check. No. So I am one of those people that was kind of glad to see Witch's Oven. Was it Witch's Oven that got the yeet, or was it the Familiar that got the yeet? One of them got banned. So the Witch's Oven, Cauldron Familiar stupidity is not a problem anymore, which is good. Like I say, drove me a little bit crazy. There was a card I was gonna look for this. I don't remember what it was now. For some reason, I remember it was an M. Millstone. We're gonna put a Millstone in this deck because, of course, we were gonna put a Millstone in this deck. I can also do Milliken. I don't know how I feel about it. I kind of like that it's a creature that can also do the pinging thing. We'll try it. Milliken could be interesting. So, I've now gone through the artifacts. I'll put these off to the side real quick. So, that does mean that what we need to do now is figure out how many cards we're missing. It's going to be a big thing to figure out. So how many cards do we have pulled currently for this deck? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. By the way, when I'm counting Magic cards for a deck and I'm trying to figure out like how many I need for certain things, I'll count out stacks of 10 and set them separately. That way if I lose track while I'm counting, it makes it easy to recount. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, so we've got 48. 49 technically. Which means we're going to need some more cards to throw in there. But that can be done. Oh, there was a card that was over to the side that I had for a different deck. This Codex Shredder. That is absolutely going in the Sir Conrad deck. Because I don't know if I'll be able to put it in the other deck that I was going to. What is this one? This one's just a bunch of decks. Let's take a look at what's in here. That's the one. Yeah, we got a good chunk of white cards to go through in this one. Good. I need to get better organization for some of my stuff. It's not the best. I'm working on it. I'm getting things like organized in their places right now, and it's a long process, but I need to get things like organized better, as in like I need different boxes to keep stuff in and that sort of thing. Because right now it sort of works, but It definitely could be better. So what we're looking for is we're looking for some cards that will help us with the with our board state type stuff. This is an interesting card actually to add into this deck. Answered Prayers. So whenever a creature enters the battlefield under my control, I gain a life, and if this isn't a creature, it becomes a 3/3 angel with flying until end of turn. Seems decent. At the very least, seems worth keeping an eye on. Watchful Giant makes a 1/1 human creature, is also a 3/6. Pretty decent wall. I'll put it there. Can always take it out later if I decide it's not worth. Civic Stalwart is a temporary +1/+1 to all my creatures, so I mean if I've got a horde of 1/1s on the field, seems fine. I'll tell you which deck I would like to make. It's I think it's called Ren and Seri. It's the cat dog deck. I want to make that so bad, but the problem is Ren and Seri are expensive, and so can't really do anything with that. Like I said, I would absolutely love to, but I can't do anything about that. And Ren and Seri are like ridiculously expensive. I don't remember what they cost off the top of my head. Not seeing a whole lot. We'll put a Suppression Bonds in the pile for now. It's essentially just white removal without taking it off the board. It's the no attack and defend, no attack or block, and activated abilities can't be activated. Make a Stand is interesting. I can indestructible and slightly pump my whole board. So if there's like a board wipe they pull out, which ends up being a lot of like black board wipes just because of who I'm playing against. I'm not sure if I have this in there. I'll go ahead and put it there for now. Glorious Charge is just +1/+1 until end of turn. Dwarven Priest, I'll throw it on there. Gain 1 life for each creature you control when it enters the battlefield. Seems decent. Intangible Virtue. Creature tokens you control get +1/+1 and have vigilance. That seems real nice. No, I have a Crusader of Odric in there because I thought that could be interesting. I don't know. I'm not seeing a whole lot right now, which is worrying. I did get up into the 50s pile. Well, I did get up into the 60s pile, I guess. I'll throw that on there. Destroy target tapped creature. I'll need some of that kind of stuff. So many Dwarven Priests in this pile. Why? It's like the same cards over and over again. There's another Dwarven Priest. How many Dwarven Priests do I own? I have an important question because I'm not going to add this card, but I've heard two different pronunciations for the first word in this card name. Now, I'm curious how you all pronounce this. I would say it Eidolon. I've heard it Eidolon. I don't think either's wrong, but I'm just curious. it's an O-ring. Like, it's legitimately an O-ring. Like, that's the namesake of that card ability, is O-ring. Love it when I find those. Like when I found that I had a fire-breathing card. Or a millstone. Not a whole lot out of this pile. I'll tell you that much. Do I have a congregate in here? I'll put it in the pile just for now. We'll see what happens. Congregate is just 2 life for each creature on the battlefield. I got a field full, and they've got a field full. That could be a lot of health. That could be interesting. The Herald of Anafenza. It's got Outlast for 2 and a white. Or you put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, and it can only be activated as a sorcery. But whenever you activate the Outlast ability, you also get a white warrior token. There are tons of cards that you're just kind of like, yeah, it's fine. I can throw it in there if I need to. Like, it's just a white card. It's not like it's specifically going to help with this deck or anything. I'm almost certain I already have a Silver Flame Ritual in there. Not a whole lot I'm seeing at the moment. Well, there's a +2/+2 until end of turn. That seems interesting. Riot Control is kind of a healing fog. Could work. I don't want to make like a life gain sub theme. Because I mean, there's whole decks I could build around just life gain. I'm actually working on another one that I'm not doing on stream. Because it's a struggle, and I've gone pretty far with it. It's a black vampire deck that's heavily focused on life gain and benefiting off of life gain, but it's rough, man. Alright, last stack. Let's see what we got. Wanderer Strike is very good, but I don't have a good use for the Proliferate for this deck. How expensive is Wanderer Strike? It's 5. That's not too bad either. Griffin Protector, I don't know if that's in there or not. I'll set it in there, and then if I figure it out. Is Squad Captain in there? Squad Captain enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each other creature you control. That could get super huge, and I feel like I saw that at one point. Also Inspiring Captain. Yeah, Unbreakable Formation seems good. Creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn, and if you cast this spell during your main phase, because it's an addendum, put a +1/+1 counter on each of those creatures, and they gain vigilance until end of turn. So, if I plan ahead, I can get some large swingy boys. Ardenvale Paladin is just a good card. It may end up in this deck just to kind of fill it out and have some bigger stuff for blocks and things. Because it's a 2/5 that can come in if I pay at least 3 white mana for it. Comes in with a +1/+1 counter, so it becomes a 3/6 in this deck instantly. I actually really like. I know I've seen this one and the Black Paladin, which is the Locthwain Paladin, I believe. And I like both of those. They're really nice. I'll go ahead and set this in here, just so I feel like I'm gonna end up needing it in there. So let's see how much we got now. This is 10, 20, 30, 40. This should be 50. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So that's 50. I don't know how much is here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So in theory, I actually have a full deck. Now, we need to see, first of all, if I've doubled up anything. Because that's a big one. If I've double up anything, then, well, it kind of sucks. But it's not the worst, because I shouldn't have doubled up too many things. Second of all, I need to see if... Put that up there. I need to see if there are cards that I just don't want to include for various reasons. And third, I mean, all the mana is going to be the same, so I don't have to like do calculations for like, hey, how many of these do I need? And how many of these do I need? Because usually, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay them out by mana cost. And so Tarnika is going to stay up in this corner. But I lay them out by mana cost, and then based on the mana cost, I'll usually determine like how many plains, how many mountains, how many whatever else I need. So we'll start in the 4 slot, which should be enough space. 3, 4, 5. Lots of 4s so far. It's disturbing. 3s are starting to catch up. Turns out, yes, that was enough space. So many 4-drops. I usually notice that I end up with a lot of like 3-drops for some reason. And I don't know why. I mean, it's not a bad thing. We got another 4-drop, 3-drop, 3-drop, 2-drop, 6, 4. 3 and 4 is kind of fine. It really depends on what they are. I'm gonna call this one 2, even though it is technically a 1X. I'm never gonna cast this for 0 on the X. At the very least, I will cast it for 1, which would be a stupid thing to do. But I suppose that might happen. Let's see. So far, I haven't doubled up. That's good. Got Sir Alan, which is sort of the secondary commander that I could choose. Like if I didn't want to use Tarnika for whatever reason, I could just use Sir Alan as my commander. We got Outflank. Bring to Trial, Fortify, Ancestral Blade, Crusader of Odric, Dawn of Hope, Call of Cavalry, Raise the Alarm, Sworn Companions, Gold Knight Commander, or the Good Knight Commander, depending on how you read it. Pacify, Celestial Flair, Blade Instructor, Fury Guide Mother, Revoke Existence! The largest card in the deck so far. There we go, the 3s are starting to catch up now. I did have a squad captain. I was right that I did have a Silver Flame Ritual. Need to double check that I didn't put one in here. Yes. I did not put one in this deck. Fencing Ace. Inspiring Captain. I did have in there. Griffin Protector. I'm also fairly certain that I put another one. Yep. Okay. So this is why you always double check. That one's gonna count as a 4, I guess, because of the same reason as the other one that was the 2-drop, technically. So these 3, just going back on the pile that I've got over here. So now, that means we have 63? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. I lost track. It's a long pile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 36. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 18, 19, 20, 21. This was a dumb way of counting. So, we're going to do it the normal way. I'm going to start left, go right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Cool, so that's 20. Good to know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So that's 36. 7, 8, 9, 40, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 50, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 60, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 64 cards in the deck. That's honestly pretty good, because that just means fill in the rest with 36 planes, and you should be good to go. I'm not going to guarantee that this deck is going to be amazing, but it's going to be a thing. So we'll just pile all this up. This is the other thing. If you do it that way, then it's easy to stack all the stuff up. Put our commander on top. And Taranika's deck is there. I'm not going to say it's finished. I'm not going to say it's perfect. But it does exist. Which is a thing. Now on to Captain Moody and his gang of sacrificing things. Now, the biggest problem I'm gonna have with Captain Moody and his gang and his sacrifice gang is that I need to decide what cards from this pile I want to keep. Obviously, there are some cards I added specifically to this pile, like this morning, like the Silumgar Scavenger, which is whenever another creature you control dies, you put a +1/+1 counter on this, and it gains haste until end of turn if it exploited that creature. So you can give it haste for that first turn, or you can just keep giving it +1/+1 counters, which is also fine. We've got Costly Plunder, which is to sacrifice a creature or artifact. Probably going to sacrifice a creature every single time to draw 2 cards. This gives us a little bit of card advantage and activates our commander's ability. I guess our secondary commander for this deck, although Sir Conrad is going to be the commander of this deck. Whisper Blood Liturgist. I've been trying to find a deck to put him in for a while. I've got a couple copies of him. But sacrifice 2 creatures, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, not only can we get back a card that had died for whatever reason, but we're also sacking 2 other creatures that are on our battlefield which feeds into our triggers. There are some cards, like the rest of these were just the ones that actually came with the, they're mostly the ones that came with the theme booster. Now there are cards like the Lesser Masticore, the Screaming Shield, Ticking Gnomes, the Witch's Oven, the Millstone, the Milligan, and the Codex Shredder that are all going in, for sure. Now there are also some doubles in here. Like, there's 2 Lashes of Thorns, there's 2 Tempting Witches, there's 2 Wicked Guardians, so we can immediately pull out doubles. I'm unsure as to whether I want to use the Wicked Guardian. It gives card advantage if you deal damage to one of your own creatures. It seems okay, but I'm still unsure about it. The Cauldron's Gift. You choose a card in your graveyard and you return it to the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. But if you pay Adamant for this, you put the top 4 cards of your library into your graveyard, which with Sir Conrad could be a very good thing. We've got 2 of these, so I'll go ahead and put one to the side. Target player loses 2 cards and loses 2 life, or draws 2 cards and loses 2 life, and food is created, because it's never going to be not cast with just all black. Foreboding Fruit. The Eye Collector seems decent. I've tried using that in Golgari deck before, like the Undergrowth Golgari deck. I have lost the cards that I want to keep every single time I've used it. And it's just, it's the worst. So I just don't use it in mine anymore. I've got other cards that do that kind of stuff for me. Lash of Thorns, I don't know if I really even want it. It gives the creature Death Touch and a boost for the turn. I don't know, maybe. So we've got 2 of these, so we can go ahead and put one away. Tinting Witch, create a food token, and you can sacrifice a food to have a player lose 3 life. That would mean that the Foreboding Fruit is going to be a little bit better, so I'll go ahead and put it in there. Bognaughty, food stack, outlet, and also potentially a way to just kill creatures because of a -3/-3. Seems interesting. It may be one of the first ones cut. Reaper of Night is interesting because it gives us, with its adventure, it gives us a discard. It gives us a way to make our opponent discard, and if it attacks when they have 2 or fewer cards in hand, it gains flying. That part's not going to be near as useful, I feel like. Memory Theft is also interesting, where it's a pull non-land from their hand and make them discard it. But also, if they have an adventure card going that they like use the adventure half of, you can make them put that in their graveyard. Which, to be honest, when I played, I haven't played against a lot of adventure stuff, but that's just because of who I play with. But that would be actually really good. The Giant Skewer, sure, maybe for some food-based stuff, maybe to at least get some health back or something. Witch's Cottage. Sure. It's gonna pretty much enter untapped unless this is like one of my first lands. And it'll get me back one of the creature cards that's in my graveyard that I might want. So we'll set, since it's a land, I'm gonna set it off separately. Jousting Dummy I don't think goes in this deck. I just don't think it fits. Set the artifacts off in their own pile. Clockwork Servant, I don't think that necessarily fits either. Why don't I have this Shambling Suit in one of my other decks? I've got a deck that is specifically built around artifacts and enchantments, and it is a card that gets power based on the number of artifacts and enchantments you control. That is being set to the side so that I can add that to a deck later. Scalding Cauldron, I'm very iffy on it. It's a fine card. It's essentially 4 mana to deal 3 damage to a creature, but you have to like spend 1 turn playing it. Well, I mean, you could obviously do it like that turn, like you could just bam bam, but it's 4 mana to deal 3 damage. I don't know. I don't think I need the golden egg. Sorcerer's Broom could be interesting. I'll go ahead and set that off to the side, because whenever you sacrifice a permanent, you can pay 3 and get another Sorcerer's Broom token. So it's very like Sorcerer's Apprentice type thing going on right there. Clockwork Servant I feel like doesn't really do much for me. Other than maybe being a sack target. And also it's card draw once in ETBs. I don't know. I feel like there's other cards that I could throw in here that would be better. Scalding Cauldron I think I'm going to cut, because I want to hit a lot of creatures and stuff in this anyways. And so, cutting the Scalding Cauldron, I can find some sort of other source that'll deal that 3 damage. I'm just gonna take off my hoodie real quick because it's bothering me. But we'll see what all we can find in my pile of black cards. So now I need my box. Yeah. Now my black cards are also sorted, so bear with me while I try to put these back in places where they belong. I'll probably leave the black cards out, just because I'm going to be pulling out a lot of the, I'm going to be pulling out all the black cards anyways. So it doesn't make much sense in my head to go through my alphabetized black cards, looking for cards to put in this deck, and then having to also put these away at a separate time. I can just do it all at once, and it'll be quicker and more interesting for you all. I'm just sticking these in here since I already went through all of these, and I should not need to go through these again for the moment. Right, so we'll start at the beginning. A fine place to start. So we're looking for some sacrifice type stuff, or some other things. Normal endurance could be interesting because it's a boost in damage type thing, but also whenever this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. So that could be very, very good. Get us some extra mileage out of that. Because it does trigger off of the when it dies, and it's when the creature dies, it'll trigger Conrad. Why is the focus just the worst? Get it? That's better. You can at least read Champion, or what's left of it on my playmat. Abhorrent Overlord could be interesting, because it's a 6/6 demon for 7, and whenever it enters the battlefield, you put a number of 1/1 black harpy creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield equal to your devotion to black. Since this is a mono black deck, it should be at least okay. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature. Which means we would get those triggers every turn. And worst case scenario, I'd have to sacrifice the Abhorrent Overlord. So I think that can go in. I've been, again, looking for a deck to put this type of card in. Like, I feel like that ends up happening is I'll see it and be like, that's gotta have a deck somewhere. I just don't know what it is. So I think this may be it. So here's what I was talking about with the Scalding Cauldron. I could use the Scalding Cauldron and pay 4 mana to deal 3 damage to any creature. Or I could pay 4 mana, that would be the same mana in this case, to deal 3 damage to any target and gain 3 life. That's just strictly better. Bake into a pie. I love Bake into a Pie. It's an interesting card. And it's a different kind of Mirror. And I have a ton of them. Ready? I probably ought to make sure these are in the order that I need to put them back in the pile so I know what letters to look out for. I'm gonna grab a big bunch here. The Blight Breath Kobopas. Alrighty. Blightcaster is interesting. It doesn't go in this deck, but it's a very interesting card. Whenever you cast an enchantment, you may have target creature get -2/-2 until end of turn. Could be very, very good. Blood Divination. How much was the other one that I had? Because there was another one that was the same effect, but one less card drawn. And I don't remember how much it was. You may sacrifice a creature. If you do, draw 2 cards. Now, what was it? Oh, it was Costly Plunder. And it costs half the amount. And I can choose an artifact instead of a creature if I really want to. I'll stick with that for now. Blood Divination may go in a different deck later. Bloodseeker is interesting. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, you may have that player lose 1 life. So if I'm wanting, it seems fine. It would be another way to just grind them out a little bit. I need some good ways to be able to reliably grind a little bit. Bone Splinters is instantly going in because you sack a creature, pay 1, and destroy target creature. It's just so good, especially in this deck. Burglar Red is actually interesting ad in this. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. The Boneclad Necromancer, maybe. I'll put it in there and I can always pull it out later. Cadaver Imp lets me go fish in the graveyard for a card to put back into my hand. Seems good. Because that way I can get some of these ETB triggers again. Carrion Imp. Exile target creature from a graveyard and gain 2 life. Seems decent, at the very least. Caustic Hound could be interesting. Because it's whenever it's put into a graveyard from the battlefield, each player loses 4 life. I'll put it on the pile for now. See what happens with that. So many Child of Nights. Another Costly Plunder, but I know I've already got one. I guess that would be Children of Night. I don't know. Crypt Keeper will sacrifice itself to exile target card from a graveyard. I mean, maybe. We're looking for sacrifice here. Sacrifice is our keyword we are liking to play with. Dark Inquiry is discard a card from your hand that I choose. Could be very, very good. Ooh, the Dark Revenant! Yes! When the Dark Revenant dies, put it on top of its owner's library. Yes, yes, yes. That is what we call value. Because whenever it dies, it triggers this, but also whenever it dies, it doesn't die forever. Because it's a Revenant. Granted, I might mill it off the top of my deck, but I can always pull it back out with something else. Okay. I'm confused. So this card, I sorted this, and I don't remember this card. When you play Dash Hopes, any player may pay 5 life. If a player does, counter Dash Hopes. Counter target spell. It's a black card. I. Ooh. Davriel's Shadow Fugue. Target player discards 2 cards and loses 2 life. Heck yeah. That's going to be 4 life. If I can get some other triggers stacked on top of that, that would be fantastic. Just scoot all of this forward so it doesn't fall over. So we still haven't hit the first one for this, so I have not forgotten. I just haven't hit there yet. Ooh, the Dead Bridge Shaman. When it dies, opponent discards a card. It's gonna be good. So I feel like making my opponent discard cards is going to be a good thing, because eventually I'll have to discard creatures, which means that Conrad triggers and that sort of thing. Conrad is a very interesting card. The Deathbloom Thallid, when it dies, I get a Sapperling that also has a chance to die. So the Demon of Dark Schemes is interesting. Because it's whenever it enters, all other creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. Whenever another creature dies, I get 1 energy. And if I pay 4 energy and 3 mana, I can put target creature from a graveyard onto the battlefield under my control tapped. That could be a very, very interesting include in this deck. Demonic Vigor, which is just a way to get that card, get one of those cards back to my hand. It's whenever an enchanted creature dies, return it to its owner's hand, and also gets a +1/+1. Desecration Demon. At the beginning of each combat, any opponent may sacrifice a creature. If a player does, tap Desecration Demon and put a +1/+1 counter on it. Oh, baby. Let's see what else we've got. The chest does the best. A card from his or her hand. You choose one of them. It seems very meh. Nah. Side of the Vault's not really worth, I don't think. Disembowel? Nah. Disentomb? Nah. Divest is interesting. Because it's 1 mana to just make them go, yeah, I'd like a creature from your hand, please. Yes, thank you. Because that's exactly what I want him to discard. Well, I say him, because I usually play with one person. Death with Benefits. Makes a 2/2 zombie after he dies, which makes another thing that can die. Gaussian Gloom. When Drainpipe Vermin dies, you may pay 1 black. If you do, target player discards a card. Okay. Dread Presence seems fine. Another way to just ping down some stuff. Whenever I play Swamps. Now, that's mostly what I'm going to be playing, so why not? Dreadmalkin. Very, very interesting. Sacrifice another creature or planeswalker and put 2 +1/+1 counters on Dreadmalkin. Dreadmalkin could get real big real quick. And it has Manache. Menace, for anyone who doesn't know. Manache. Drukhari Scavenger is a way to get stuff back out of my graveyard onto my library. Seems solid. Might not stay, but who knows? Enemy of Enlightenment. Enemy of Enlightenment gets -1/-1 for each card in your opponent's hands. Beginning of your upkeep, each player discards a card. That seems sort of risky, but also if it dies, it triggers. I'll put it there for now. Who knows? It might end up coming right back into the pile. Gotta remember to actually look at the cards out here because it's a lot of the space is taken up, but you all can't see if I'm looking at stuff. This great. There's the Eye Collector. Very Macabre. Very Macabre is actually very interesting because I discard it and remove up to 2 target cards in graveyards from the game. So I exile 2 cards from graveyards and also discard this, which triggers Sir Conrad because Sir Conrad has so many triggers. Could be interesting. Whenever you play a spell during an opponent's turn, you may have each opponent lose 1 life. Festive Funeral is a very interesting card. I really like this card. I've got it in my Golgari decks, where its target creature gets -X/-X until end of turn, where X is the number of cards in your graveyard. It plays along with the whole like undergrowth mechanic, and I'm willing to put it in here because we're constantly going to be dumping stuff into our graveyard. So it might come in handy. There's our Foreboding Fruit. Put that right in there with the stack. Each opponent loses 1 life. Huh. Okay. So this is a card that I'm thinking about putting in here because Forever Young is interesting to me. Just a way to get some cards from our graveyard back. I'm uncertain whether you can just keep grabbing a bunch of cards because it's any number of target creature cards. Is it you can only pick 1 creature and you can bring as many of that creature from your graveyard that you want? I'm not sure. It's one I'm gonna look at the rules for before I actually leave it in that deck. Foulmire. I don't know. We'll throw it on the stack. It's a 1-cost Death Touchman. At the very least, there's that. Ooh. Geralf's Messenger. Enters the battlefield tapped. Whenever it enters, target opponent loses 2 life, and it has Undying. So that means if it has +1/+1 counters on it, then it just dies. But also, if it doesn't have +1/+1 counters on it, then it returns to the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. Sick. Ghoulsteed is interesting. So I can, it's a 4/4 for 5, and I can pay 3 to discard 2 cards to return Ghoulsteed from my graveyard to the battlefield tapped, which would also trigger Sir Conrad. We've got the Giant Skewer. I don't really want to do the Gorging Vulture because 4 cards off the top is a lot. I don't know. Maybe. Sure, we'll put George in there. George Miller himself. Don't have a Zombo deck. Grasp of Darkness. Choose target creature. Have 3 cards of the library into your graveyard, then put a +1/+1 counter on that creature for each creature card in your graveyard. Ooh! Yeah, we're gonna buff up one of our creatures. It's absolutely gonna happen, my dude. For your Golgari counter, put that many +1/+1 counters on a creature. So essentially, it's a build your own Rhizome Lurcher. Rhizome Lurcher? Yes. Except you can put it on a beefy boy and make that an even beefier boy. Oofa doofa. We got a good old Gravedigger. Because why not? Gary! And it's even old Gary. Look at him. It's like original Gary. I also have the new one. I'll probably put the new one in, at the very least for now. Because the art on it is really cool. But also, so I'm not going to sleeve this for a little while at least. Just because I don't have sleeves. For 100 cards. Let's see. What all do we got? Ooh, that's actually very interesting. So, first of all, the Gul'Daraz Mucklord, when it dies, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature I control. That's just solid. But also, Gurmag Angler, which has Delve, which is exiling stuff from my graveyard to pay the colorless cost. However, Sir Conrad says whenever, for one of its triggers, whenever a creature dies, a creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or when a creature card leaves your graveyard, for instance, if you're exiling them so that you can summon a Gurmag Angler. Oh, we're putting a Haunted Dead like right onto that. That's pretty solid. I'm loving this deck even more now. This is gonna be a dumb deck, and I love it. Hmm. Kaya's Ghost Form. So another, just return that card to the battlefield whenever it dies or is put into exile. So that's kind of a way to safeguard somebody like Sir Conrad or something. Although it is whenever another creature dies. But it is a way to safeguard like Sir Conrad or something else. Hey, Lash of Thorns. I found the next one. So many Lash of Thorns. Good grief. Oh hey, Launch Party. That's an additional cost. Sack a creature. Although, for the destroy target creature cards, Bone Splinters is just so good. Lawless Broker, whenever it dies, put a +1/+1 on target creature you control. Heck yeah. Lay Bare the Horde. Liliana Spectre is interesting. Makes our opponent discard a card. Liliana's Triumph is sack a creature, and if I control a Liliana, they also discard. But I don't have a Liliana, unfortunately. Live Fast is interesting. Draw 2 cards, lose 2 life, and get 2 energy. Which, we do have a card that uses energy. You know what? I'm thinking I'm not going to end up having enough time to finish building this deck. But that's okay. Ooh! I can use the Golgari cards like my favorite finisher in stupid decks like this. The Lotleth Giant. I love the Lotleth Giant. When he enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to target opponent for each creature card in your graveyard. Yes! Yes, yes, yes. So Macabre Waltz reads differently whenever you have Sir Conrad, because you have return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand, then discard a card. What this also reads as is do all those things, and then if you discard the right card, you deal 3 damage to your opponents. Because here's the thing, Sir Conrad not only deals damage to one opponent, no, he deals this damage to each opponent. So even if I'm playing like 4-player commander, this man's is going to work. Although that does make me a massive target. I'll put a Malevolent Noble in there. It's sack an artifact or another creature, put a +1/+1 on Malevolent Noble. I don't know if he'll stay. He might not make it. Who knows? But we'll put it on there anyways. Oh, hey, Mind Drain. Let's do that, please. Target opponent discards 2 cards, mills a card, and loses 1 life. You gain 1 life. Heck yeah. There's obviously all these Mind Rots too. I don't know if I want to use one at the moment. It's just target player discards 2 cards. You can always go find one. Murder! I've got other cards that do the job of Murder. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna drop the Murderous Rider in there. See how that does. The Nightmare is just going to be strong with swamps. And we're going to have tons of swamps. I like the Order of Midnight, but I've got so many cards in the stack right now. Ooh, Phyrexian Ghoul. Sacrifice a creature, and it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Yes! Make a large Phyrexian Ghoul and just hammer in. sack outlet. I'm gonna probably ditch some of the sack outlets that I've got here because I've got so many cards I've pulled for this deck. But that's how it do. We got a Reaper Knight in there, I know for sure. Reassembling Skeleton. Brings itself back from the graveyard for the same cost as casting it. Just becomes back tapped. That's very nice. Ooh, Returned Reveler is interesting. Whenever it dies, each player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Yep. Seems solid. Just dumping on all the damage. Sacrifice. Sacrifice one of your creatures to add to your mana pool a number of black mana equal to that creature's casting cost. So, since this is a white border card, that means it's an old card, but it also means that it probably reads slightly differently. So it sacrifice one creature, add X black mana to your mana pool, where X equals the sacrificed creature's CMC. So, for instance, if I was sacrificing Sir Conrad, it would be 5. I mean, it goes on the pile, for sure. Sanitarium Skeleton. Interesting. So I can keep bouncing him. Ironically, I built a deck that would be very good against fighting this because it's all about like making sure the well, it'd be at least okay about fighting this just because of it being built around planeswalkers and enchantments rather than creatures. And so, like, there are some creatures just to help make the deck work. But it's interesting that this one would, like, maybe have issues fighting that deck. It would depend. Trying to watch the clock because I do need to go and eventually, like, get ready for work and stuff. I'm kind of like not speeding through the rest of the cards, but I'm like just amping it up a little bit. By the way, Spinal Centipede, it's just when it dies, put a +1/+1 counter on something you control. Tending Witch in there, so I don't forget. There are lots of cards that are making me want to like add them just because it's like dealing specifically with swamps, and like a lot of times in the decks that I'm building I will get swamps obviously because I can't just like not have basic lands except for like oddly enough my Planeswalker deck, just because there are so like there are basic lands in that, but there's so many colors to deal with. It's the Jodo one. The Jodo one I think doesn't have any basic lands at all. Ooh, Elders Reborn is gonna be so good with this. Because it makes them sacrifice a creature. It makes them discard a card, and then it lets me grab a creature or planeswalker from a graveyard and put it onto the battlefield under my control. It's very, very good. You know, I hadn't even considered putting like Madness or anything in this. Kind of trying to get through the last bits of stuff because I think we're just about done pulling cards from black stuff. And also the stream is gonna be ending soon, so I'm kind of trying to get things wrapped up. I guess this is going to be the last thing that we're going to do this stream. So I'll go ahead and wrap things up while I'm getting these last few cards going through. So thank you all for being here. No matter if you were here for just a part of it, or if you were here the whole time, or if you just came right now, just whichever. I plan to play more Borderlands soon. It's not that I didn't want to play Borderlands. The game was being weird, and I had a backup plan. I was like, well, okay. I'll do this thing instead. And so today's ended up being a little bit weirder than usual, but that's okay. Weird's not a bad thing. It's just different. So today we have put together this deck, which is gonna be this deck I'm very excited for. I am curious to see how well it comes together. I have not really built this kind of deck before, and so I'm curious to see how it do. I'll have to go through all these cards and narrow it down some. I'm gonna try to limit when I do this kind of stream. Like, I know I've done it a couple times already, but it just tends to be it's not the best stream I could do, I guess, is the thing. Like, I could do gaming stuff and it's a little more engaged and active, but I'm glad at least I hope at least somebody enjoys watching these, because it's basically what I would do, like, just to kind of chill and cool down at the end of the day or something. If you missed part of the stream, like you came late or something, you can go to twitch.tv/ToxicTitanGaming, which is what you're on, obviously, but also YouTube people. That's where things happen live. You can go to the VODs and watch the stream there. Don't worry about the little short one that happened before this, because that was, my camera was having some serious issues, and so I just restarted the program, or the streaming software, and it resolved it. If you're on the YouTube side of things, this does happen live, and it's there. I will also be uploading this VOD soon to my YouTube channel, so that is Toxic Titan Gaming. If you want to know what games I'm going to play, if I have to make any sort of like rapid changes like I did today, where it was like, oh, we're going to play Borderlands in an hour, and then I started getting things ready and went, we're not playing Borderlands. Just go and follow me on Twitter. I don't tweet too often. It's usually just about streaming stuff, or I'm just talking to friends or replying to people I like to watch or something like that. But whatever you do, just keep in mind that you need to have a good day. So, whether that means you sit there and obviously do what you have to do. Like, I have to go to work. I would rather just sit here and play video games, because it'd be fun, and watch YouTube videos. I would love to be able to just do that, but we can't. So, do what you have to do, and then when you don't have to do anything else, have a little bit of fun. Watch somebody talk about Magic cards for hours on end. I know that's what I've been doing all morning so far. Play a game, just read a book, whatever you want to do that's fun. Build a deck. But most importantly, I want you all to remember to have fun, play games, take care. Bye.